Trump is not going to fire the Fed. Hey, Melissa, just listen to me for a second and let me tell you exactly. I'm going to give you 8 points. Then I'm going to give you a little bit of a history. And I'm going to explain to you what's really going on. But because, as usual, all you keep hearing is Trump is going to fire the Trump. Trump is going to fire. Trump is not. Trump is not going to fire the Fed. One, he can't do it, and two, it wouldn't make any sense to have a Fed that is not I element. That is not good. Okay, so listen to me for a second. First of all, as usual, whenever we deal with Trump, do not listen what he's telling you because he's telling you this. I'm going to fire him. I'm going to fire him. You have to look what the right hand is doing. What is the right hand is doing? And let me give you 8 reasons why you shouldn't listen to him. First of all, this is not about firing the Fed. What this is about, he's basically messaging to the market and to everyone that basically what he wants is lower rate. Therefore, you should all expect lower rates, either in July, very unlikely, or you should expect rates in May of next year, lower rates. And the market is already assuming the lower rates. Okay, so point number one, this is not about firing the Fed. Okay, number two, he's basically messaging to everyone that rates are going to go lower. Rates are going to go lower. Don't worry about it. Now, should they be lower? That is a different question, and I will explain to you why this could be a problem. But third, the new guy, the new Fed guy, is not going to be these people that you keep hearing about. No, it's going to be Bassett. If you look at him, if you see the way he behaves like a typical Fed chair. So that's going to be your next guy. Number four, the market is already seeing through all this. The market is already assuming lower rates, either in July or next year. So for your portfolio, expect, hey Liz, expect that you are going to see lower rates. And the market is going to keep going up and up. I'm not saying forever, but for as long as things remain the way they are, it's going to be great. Okay. First of all, the Fed cannot lower the rates unless you see a dip in inflation. And we're going to find that on July 29th. Otherwise, the Fed is going to lose all credibility. Okay. So he's not going to remove it for cause because they have this building that they put together and that doesn't make any sense. I mean, they're spending $2 billion. Again, don't listen to what he's saying right now. You need to listen past it. You need to listen past what's happening. Number 8, the Fed is not independent, is no good. You need an independent Fed. But is this new? Is this new stuff? Let me explain to you why this is new. Think about Burns versus Nixon. Burns, let's learn something together here. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. What happens with Burns versus Nixon? Because it's not the first time that a president wants the Fed out. Okay? Evidence from the Nixon tapes in the 70s clearly reveals that President Nixon pressured Burns, who was then the Fed, both directly and indirectly to engage it in expansionary monetary policy after the 1972 election. So basically say lower the rates, lower the rates, lower the rates. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I come to you every day with important information, important analysis. And the analysis that I have for you for today is basically don't listen to what they're telling you. Listen to what they're not telling you. And what they're not telling you is basically that he doesn't really want to fire the Fed. He wants to put the pressure, and he basically wants everyone to know that rates are going to go down. Okay. So with Burns in the 70s, inflation was out of control by the late 70s, stacked by Burns' reluctance to raise the rates even though inflation was creeping up. So be careful. Whenever you have a lot of inflation, which we don't have right now, you've got to raise the rates. And at that time, Burns, because it was in Nixon's pocket, we found out later on, he didn't raise the rates. Like what happened? Huge inflation in the 70s. That could impact you. So please pay attention. Turkey, right? Turkey inflation. In a most recent and extreme example, Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan sacked his country's central bank in early 2021 because he could do it. He said, you know what, you're fired. I'm firing this Fed guy. That was the Turkish president. And it happened. As the developing economy was struggle with twin slow growth and persistent inflation, he fired the guy that said, you got to stop raising the rates. You got to lower the rates. Guess what happened? Turkey inflation rate more than tripled to 72%. So first of all, and this is what you saw yesterday, and by the way, join my channel because I'm always tracking lots of important things for you, including the 10-year yield, which is approaching 4.5%. That is not a good sign. And yesterday when he announced it, listen, what I'm telling you, people in the know knows that basically you need a Fed independent. But Trump knows that as well. He's not stupid. He's got all these people around it. Don't forget to subscribe. Okay? But what he wants to tell them, even though I cannot lower the rates on my own, I want lower rates. So hold on. Lower rates are coming. Lower rates are coming. And by the way, we have no inflation, so what the heck are we doing? We should be lowering the rates. But I can't do it. But be careful. One thing you cannot have is low rates and inflation. That is a bad combination, as we could see what happened with Burns and Nixon in the 70s and with Turkey with 72%. And that's going to impact you if there is huge amount of inflation like that. You will lose your job, okay? And the market is going to crash. So let's play around, let's talk, let's argue, but remember, we don't want to play with that, okay? So then, in terms of history, now, did we ever remove in the U.S. a Fed chair? Yes, we did. Yes, we did. In the 50s. 4 years after World War II, the central bank had maintained wartime policy of low rates. But then there was a specter of war. And then inflation surged. So the Fed wanted to raise the rates. Truman says, no. Don't do it. You do not want to do it. I want you to lower the rates. You say, I can't lower the rates, there's inflation. No, I want you to lower the rate. True in the 50s. So what did he do? He brought all these people in one room and said, we need to make a deal. You guys are way too independent. So Truman's advisors negotiated what is called the Treasury Fed account in 1951, which secured the resignation of the Fed chair. So that Fed chair of the 50 was gone. So we were able to remove the Fed chair. And he was replaced by William Chesney Martin, who had played a key role, obviously, in arranging the affair. So when this new Fed came in, Truman said, great, now you're going to lower the rates. Well, Truman thought he would get his way, but unfortunately, it didn't happen. And the Fed still raised the rates. So what's the lesson here? The lesson is here. And join this channel so I keep you up to date every day with new information about the market. And in this case, probably about your livelihood. You got to be careful here. So 8 points that I want to make. Number one, this is not about firing the Fed. Number two, the messaging that Trump is doing on his right hand. On his left hand, he's saying, he's building this building for $2 billion. He's gonna, I want to fire him. He's stupid, he's too slow, whatever. On the right hand, what he's doing, he's telling everyone, as you could see, rates are going to come down. And the market right now is doing great fine. The new Fed is best. Trust me on that. Number four, the market is already going up past the rate drop. The market is looking beyond, right? Do you have a book? No, I don't have a book, but I have a huge amount of experience and I want to share it with you on my channel. So don't forget to join. And my Patreon channel, because there, obviously right now, what you want to be in low cap stocks. Low cap stocks, less than small caps, less than 2 billion in market cap. Number six, he is not going to remove in for cause, meaning that the Fed is building this $2.2 billion building that's running out of cost, and that's because they're having issues managing the project or whatever. It's not like they are overspending, and maybe they're overspending, maybe they're overdoing it, but you're not going to fire the Fed because you think that he's Again, these are obvious things that they're telling you, they're telling everyone, and everybody's focusing on that. He's going to fire him. He's going to make it for cause, and not for cause. Trump knows that he doesn't want. That's not going to happen. Plus, don't forget, this is already August. I mean July, right? August, September, October, November, December, January, February, April. He's got like 9 months. By the time you get to the court and the new Fed guy is in, what Trump is doing, and he's pushing, and he's not going to stop pushing, especially in July, if the Fed doesn't lower the rates, which frankly I don't think he will. Well, have you seen the latest CPI number? Take a look at my latest um, CPI shorts, and you'll see that inflation is definitely not going down. Okay, so that's not going to happen. So what's happening? What's going to happen is that the Fed is going to lower the rates, and then Trump is going to be really pissed, and now he's going to really start again, and he's going to keep pushing and pushing why? Because he's not going to stop. Trump is a machine. Trump wants lower rates, and either he gets it through the Fed or he's going to get it by saying that he wants it, and the market is going to say, you know what, this guy is not going to let go. And obviously, the new guy that's going to come in is going to lower rates. Well, be careful, because the last time around, when that happened in the 50s, that didn't happen, right? If you are any kind of smart Fed, you are not, hey, Elizabeth, you are not going to lower the rates, especially if you have inflation. That would be crazy. Why? Look what happened with Nixon. And you may or may not remember the 70s and the 80s, but there was a huge amount of inflation. The Fed at that time did not want to raise the rates because the president said, no, lower rates, lower rates. Turkey, same mistake, 72% inflation. You have to be careful. Thank you, Elizabeth, for this. I appreciate that very much. Number 7, the news outlet that you're all listening to are not going to predict anything. They're going to tell you what's happening. And what's happening? What's the big news? Trump wants to fire the Fed. Trump wants to sue the Fed. But we all know that is never going to happen. The thing is, what are they going to tell you? What I'm telling you? I mean, so what if they're wrong, right? But meanwhile, for you to make money in the stock market, you need to know what's going to happen next before it happens, right? Because otherwise it's too late. Because all you're doing is you're giving them views and giving them viewership, and you're just consuming, but you're not taking advantage of it. The two things are going to happen here. One, the Fed is not going to lower rates in July because they can't. There's no way. And if he does lower the rates, then he's even more trouble, because then Trump was going to say, look, he's not even reliable. Why are you lowering the rates? Inflation is up. That doesn't make any sense at all, right? Well, at least inflation is not going down. So the Fed is under pressure. So what he's got to do is got to hold on tight and not do anything, which is going to be great, right? Because at the end of the day, what the market is doing is looking forward, is looking at the idea that the rates are going to go down. Now, of course, the question is, and this is a difficult question, what's happening to inflation? Because if inflation stays the way it is right now, I mean, we're going to have a great time in the stock market, right? Because the market is going to take off, and then the market is going to say, you know what? On top of that, we are going to have a great fair next year that's going to say that I'm lowering the rates. Because then, obviously, there is no inflation. But that's going to be then, right? Now, what do you do with your money? That's the question. Do I invest in the stock market? Well, you invest in the stock market if inflation is going to be tame, because rates are going to come down, either in July or next year when the new Fed comes in. Is this what's going to happen, though? That's a big question, right? Is inflation being tamed? Right now, inflation is under control, which is kind of incredible, frankly. Yeah, it should be going up. Who says so? Okay. Well, because you're tariffing everyone else, so therefore, rates have to come down. There's not going to be any inflation, because you're raising, you're tariffing everyone, so they're going to pass the cost down. hold on, hold on. Trump is holding this whole thing, this house of cards together. Do you want to be Walmart, right? Announcing that because the tomatoes from Mexico are more expensive by 30% because of the tariffs, because they're going to happen, right? The tariffs are going to happen, they're going to stick because Trump is collecting $300 billion a year. Do you want to be the one that's going to raise tomatoes and the price of tomatoes and everything else? Because you say, well, it's not my fault. I mean, the tariffs and everything else. What do you think Trump is going to do? He's going to go after you the same way he's going after this guy, Powell. And then your image is going to be destroyed. So what they're going to do, those companies, they're going to basically say, you know what? Don't raise rates. Don't raise pricing that much. Because then we're going to have this guy on top of us. And he's going to be gone eventually. By next year, they're going to lose the House or whatever. Maybe, because I don't know. If this thing keep working the way it is, I mean, Trump is doing a pretty good job, right? We eliminated the Israel-Iran war. I'm going to do a video on that because things are heating up down there, by the way. We have NATO spending 5%. I can't believe it. And they're calling him daddy. Did you see that video that I posted a couple of days ago, that my live, when you had the NATO guy coming in and he was all Google eyes over Trump, saying you're the greatest country in the world. He's my friend, your son, my father. I mean, it was like a love fest. That's what he wants. So that worked. The big beautiful bill. Everybody says, whoa, this is horrible, people losing. It passed. And the market is up. And inflation is under control. So, don't be against it because you don't like Trump, or be for because you like Trump. No. You need to understand what's happening so that you could predict it before it happens, right? So more likely than not, what you're going to have is you're going to have Bassett in charge of the Fed, of the Treasury, of the Fed in May. That's number one. Why? Because nobody's talking about him. You're talking about all the other guys that you hear. Everybody's making, talking back and forth, and this is what. No, because he's going to be it, because Trump likes him. Trump knows exactly what he wants. And even the demeanor of the guy, I think he feels and talks and looks like a Fed chair, okay? And he wants the job because it's a fantastic, great opportunity. He'll be independent from Trump. Now, of course, does this mean that he's going to be really lowering the rates? Well, we shall see. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Let me explain to you why you need to subscribe to this channel. Because you might or might not be interested in this topic right now, although you should, because if inflation hits, everyone is going to get hit. But you need to join this channel because you need to know what are the risks in the systems. And what are the risks in the system right now? What are the main risks in the system? Well, number one, inflation is a big topic. Number two, the tariffs. Are they going to hold? No one is going to do retaliatory tariffs? I don't think so. Obviously, Canada just whistled out completely, right? They would say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. They didn't do anything. Three, watch Israel and Iran. This is not over. Obviously, Israel is out of control. For good or valid reason or whatever, Netanyahu wants to do what he wants to do. He wants to keep fighting because the more he fights, the more he stays in power. Number four, China. Do you care about China? You should care about China. Why? Because right now, China is producing a lot of products, a tremendous amount. In fact, they have deflation. They got to sell this stuff to someone. I don't know if you know, but China, what basically China does, the government says, okay, we are going to build, we're going to have a real estate boom. So I am going to give lots of money so you guys build, you could borrow from me and you build housing and then we're going to sell it to the people. And the people, you want to buy houses, I will give you the rent. I will give you the loan so you could buy that. So they're pushing everything up. Everything is being pushed up and up and up in China. What happened if no one is buying, right? Because that's what's happening. When Trump says, I'm not buying anything from you, they say, well, no, you can't do that. I got to sell stuff to people. Otherwise, what are my people going to be working on? Be careful. Because the next thing that could happen, if China really has a huge amount of deflation and they don't know what to build, they're going to build weapons. And they're going to start something with Taiwan to justify a huge amount of production, industrial production that they have, and then it's not going anywhere. I mean, they're producing it, but nobody's buying it. So And you can't dump all this on Europe because then the price is going to destroy everything. So think about, and this is what this channel is about. And don't forget to subscribe because I want to keep you informed every single day and all day long, actually, because I post I have also some stock recommendation. So don't forget, this is something that is learned every day and that you need to understand. And of course, you also need to worry about something that is very important. And you know what that is? The big beautiful bill. You're going to see it coming down. I don't know which income bracket you're in, but it's going to impact you as well. And don't forget, obviously, the most important one of all of the risks that you need to be concerned about is the national debt. $37 trillion. This year, we're refinancing $9 trillion. So that's going to be a lot of damage if the U.S. is not able to refinance that debt. So please listen to me for a second so I give you at least some information. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I come to you every day in the morning with a live to see what's happening, what's going on, and everything else. You might not be interested in this one, but you're probably going to like the next one. And of course, number 8, which is very important, and you need to remember this, the Fed needs to remain independent if you're in the know. And that's what happened yesterday. You know, the markets say, and especially take a look at the 10-year yield, which I think is around 4.5. And I'm putting every day on my live webcast to show you to monitor that thing. So you need to monitor the 4.5, the 4.5 at the 10-year yield. Why? Because if it gets too high, right? If the yield gets too high, it's going to be more expensive for the U.S. to refinance its debt. Right? Right now, the Fed is paying, don't forget, we're paying about 2% on that debt, 2% on 37 trillion on average. But all that debt is being refinanced this year. We're going to refinance $9 trillion. How much do you think the U.S. is going to pay? Not 2%, 4.5% and higher. This is going to be a lot of damage. So what to look out for? What do you need to look out for? Well, the first thing you want to look is what is going to happen to inflation. But obviously, you can't wait until it happens to make a decision because it's too late. You need to decide right now, are we going to have inflation? I don't believe that we're going to have a huge amount of inflation. I don't believe. You're going to have inflation, but it is not going through the tariffs, but it's not going to permeate. And the reason it's not going to permeate because Trump is going to hold the thing together. He's going to say, Walmart, don't even dare, don't even think of lowering the rate, doing anything to your prices. Otherwise, I'm going to come after you, or Amazon, or whatever. So he's going to hold that together. So what's going to happen, therefore, is that the Fed is probably not going to lower the rates because he's going to say, listen, I'm looking at the inflation, it's not going down. Okay? It's not going up, but it's not going down. So I'm not going to do anything. Plus, I don't like you anyway. Okay. So probably in July, what you're going to see is no change. Okay. And of course, Trump is going to get back in there and say, look, this is ridiculous. You're not doing anything, blah, blah, blah. Because yesterday, or the day before, when CPI came out at 2.7%. So, you know, it's not going down. And Trump says it's going down. No, it's not. But okay, fine. It's not going up. Okay, it's the same thing as going down. Not really. But the point is, in July, my friends, in July, what on July 27, 29, 30s, what is the Fed going to do? Don't forget, he's got his ear full every day. Now, probably what I think is happening also is some of the Trump people are getting through the 14 presidents, you know, around the countries that made this, that reports to the Fed chair, but they're pressuring these people also to do something. The thing is, if you are lowering the rates, don't forget to join this channel, everyone. This is important. I am bringing to you all the risks that are happening in the market. And right now, we are discussing the Fed. Will Trump fire the Fed? That is not the question you should be asking yourself because that's not going to happen. It happened in the 50s, believe it or not, when Truman wanted to get rid of the Fed and he got all these people in the room and said, okay, we got to get rid of this guy. And they say, fine, we'll get rid of him, but let's make an agreement from now on that we're independent. Fine, whatever, I'll sign. And they got rid of the Fed and they got a new guy, and the new guy did exactly what the Fed did because it's economic fundamental knowledge. High inflation, the only way to fight inflation, you need to raise the rates. Okay? But right now, looks like inflation is under control. Even, I will tell you, last year, on average, the US was paying 3%. We're getting 3% tariffs. This year, it's almost 10% on average and even higher. $300 billion. So Trump is keeping this whole ass together very nicely, I have to say, for the time being. The thing is, once he loses power, everything is off. How can Trump lose power? Well, I will tell you. One, you know this Epstein story? Be careful. Okay? You said you're going to give the list. Now you're not giving the list. The MAGA people got pissed about that. Not that he's on that list, because Dershowitz, basically, who's his lawyer, who was Epstein lawyer, says there is no list. The guy didn't keep a list with all the people that went with the girls. There's no such list. But the fact is, you said you were going to show it to us, and you're not. What's going on here? Two, do not get involved in the Middle East. Do not get us involved in another war, please. He kind of did it on his own, right? He went in, and I'll do a video on that. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you stay on track as to what's really happening. He went in it, right? He did it. He bombed it. See, that's it. But I'm not. No, we're just bombing. We're out of here. Okay, but you did bomb a foreign country, okay, and nothing happened. Good luck. Are you going to do it again? Because don't forget, Netanyahu out there just bombed Syria. He's a loose cannon. Why? Well, he's not. You have to understand what these people do. You need to understand the second level, right? The second level is Netanyahu. What basically what he's doing, he wants to stay in power. The more he fights, the more he stays in power. I mean, this is, you need to understand and this is what this channel is about, right? I'm kind of giving you what's really going on underneath. Otherwise, all you're listening is the news, and you're telling you Netanyahu attacked Syrian because of some whatever story it was. No. He needs to keep fighting, right? So when this is done, he's going to keep fighting again. And I will tell you, all Iran needs to do is send a firecracker towards Israel, and we're back to the races. And then what is Trump going to do? Right? Is he going to get back in there? And what? And I think he wants to get back in there, quite frankly, because he wants to get in there because he wants to prove that he was right in the beginning, but now he wants to show you that everything was destroyed. Don't forget, we still have 800 pounds of uranium running around the Middle East somewhere, because most people said it hasn't been destroyed. In fact, you know who's saying that? And you haven't heard from him a lot, is the vice president. He said it because he read the report, the internal report that says, yeah, we bombed it, but we did it maybe by a couple of weeks. These people could be back and start building this bomb all over again. But it's the same thing with the Iranian, right? Are they building a bomb? Yes. Do they want to destroy Israel? Well, that's what they say. But they know very well that they won't never get to it. But what's the second level story? The second level story that you, my subscriber, that I want you to know is that Iranians, basically, the mullahs, not the Iranians, they made $2 trillion building this bomb. Where do you think the money went? It went to all the people under the mullahs, right? They are the one making the money, huge amount of money. So to destroy Israel or whatever. But that's not the story. And this is the same thing that's happening right now with Trump. When Trump tells you that I want to fire the Fed, he doesn't want to fire the Fed. When Trump tells you that we want Canada 50% tariffs because Canada basically is not taking care of the fentanyl coming across the Canadian border, do you really think that's a reason? No, he just wants the tariffs and he needs a good reason. And once he has a reason, then he tariffs. And meanwhile, the U.S. is collecting $300 billion in fees, in tariffs. Do you know how much $300 billion is? If you keep this up for a couple of years, that's almost $2.4 trillion. That's from the Yale Institute. $2.4 trillion in tariffs coming in. This is fantastic. You're going to pay for the big, beautiful bill. Can't lose. Well, can't lose. Trump can't lose right now because he, in an incredible kind of way, holding all of these people together. He's out there every day, going from the tariffs, to the Fed, back to the big beautiful bill, and I mean, that's how you manage. That's what you're supposed to do as a boss. You're supposed to manage everything and be responsible for everything. The only problem is he is becoming a problem because now everything is on him, right? This whole thing is holding on him. Do you see anyone saying anything this way or that way? No. It's all on Trump. So Trump is going to become its own liability because once, for some reason, he loses control over all these people, the rate discussion, the Israeli people, Netanyahu, and the Fed, once he loses control, then everything is going to fall apart very quickly. And that we're going to be in trouble. Now, how could it all fall apart? Well, like I said, if he loses the MAGA people, that's going to be a problem. If inflation gets out of control, that's going to be a problem. But I believe that it's going to stay in control for a while because, frankly, no one is raising the rates inflation is high, but it's not going higher. It's not going down. 2.7. It's don't forget Turkey at 72% inflation. How did they get 72% inflation? Because they fired the Fed. Okay, so 2.5. Let's not get overly. But you know what? It doesn't matter because when the new guy comes in May, which is going to be Bassett, I believe, the expectation is that he's going to lower the rates. Well, maybe he doesn't. It doesn't matter if he doesn't, because by that time the market's going to do its own thing. The market looks ahead, right? So right now we're assuming that the Fed is going to lower the rates. Either in July, probably unlikely, but definitely next year. So it doesn't matter because because the market is going up anyway. The market keeps going up and up and up. Why? Because it knows that essentially what's happening right now is we have no inflation, right? We have no recession. Today, don't forget to join this channel, by the way. Today, the retail numbers came out, retail sales. And I'll do a video on that. What the heck? Short. Retailers are just fine. People are spending money. So there's no impact on the inflation numbers or the raising of the people are still buying in the U.S. So the economy keeps going. Inflation keeps going. So what is the problem? The problem is not going to come from there. The problem is going to come from the side. And this is what this channel is about. This channel is about looking at the black swan, things that we don't know that are going to impact the stock market. That's what we want to find out. We want to know where it is. And how do we find out? Well, I'm sorry to tell you, every day I got to come in and explain to you what's going on and see what's happening and readjust and readjust and readjust. In the meantime, on my Patreon channel, I do show you a few stock recommendations. GCT, for example. Take a look at GCT, how well it is performing since I mentioned it in my Patreon. I have over 300 comments. I cannot stop them. I got almost 30 type of collections. Basically I say, okay, what's going on with the interest rate? What's going on with the dollar? What's going on with my recommendation? What's going on with Tesla? Tesla is a problem. I'm telling you, if you have Tesla right now, I'm looking at $250. Then it becomes interesting. Don't forget, the PE in the stock market right now is 37. Tesla is 150. You cannot justify that kind of valuation. So therefore, you need to wait. And especially recently, the head of sales at Tesla left. He was there for 15 years. And of course, he wants to create another party. This is nuts. He needs to stop, okay? Because if he's out there creating another party, then we're off to the races. Now, that could be a black swan. Be careful. Because Musk may actually go through with it. And that could be something, a broadside. He's got the money. He's got 30, 40. He could spend $10 billion creating a new party. if he wanted to. And that will make a lot of damage for Trump. So we got to be careful about that. But essentially, the lesson for today is as follows. 5 points. Okay. Point number one, and don't forget to join this channel because I come to you every day about what is happening. First of all, this is not about firing the Fed. This is what they tell you so you look left when you should be looking right. Two, he's not going to fire the Fed because of the building that, no, that's not going to happen. Okay. Three, the Fed is not going to lower the rates in July because inflation is not under control. Four, definitely cannot fire the Fed because of a cause. Five, you should know that the news outlet cannot predict anything. They're mostly giving you the information. Six, 1951, you should know that the Truman actually did fire the Fed because he wanted lower rates, but there was inflation and the Fed did not want to lower those rates. And that was a problem for Truman. He got them all into one room and he said, "Fire, I want you out." And he said, "Okay, fine. But from now on, Fed independence. Yeah, I'll sign." And he did, and they fired the Fed and they brought another guy in, and the other guy did exactly what the other guy was doing anyway. Why? Listen to me. You cannot lower rates if you have inflation. You know who did it? Turkey. Turkey didn't like it either. And that's because Trump is not the first one to do that. Don't think that Trump is like this guy that's coming up with these horrible things on his own. No. This has been done way before. The Turkey did it with the president in 2021, and he said, "I'm firing you, lower rates." It says, "There's inflation. Never mind, lower the rates." They ended up with 72% inflation. Now, why is that? Why is it that you need to raise the rate in order to beat inflation? Because inflation is like everyone is buying, is raising rates because there's expectations the rates are going to go up because there's a lot of activities, right? If you lower rates, then you're basically forcing activities in the system. So the more activities you have in the system, the more you want to do and the more you produce and everything becomes more expensive. It feeds on itself very quickly. Don't forget, inflation is a bad thing. 72%, your money isn't worth anything. So that is the situation right now with the Fed. So where do we end up with this thing? Well, these are my predictions. First of all, the Fed is not going to lower those rates. I hate to say it in July because inflation is not under control. Two, Trump is not going to fire that guy. No way. He can't do it. Three, Bassett is going to be the next Fed chair. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Come to you every day with information on how to make money in the stock market. Yeah, but most importantly, try not to lose any. Try not to see that thing that's going to come and hit you and bite you like a black swan, after Taleb Nassim, that basically says that what is a black swan? A black swan is an event that no one sees coming. Then it hits us like COVID. When will rates come back down? Well, July 29th and 30th is when the Fed, I believe, or 27, 28, or 29th, I think, is going to come in and they're going to decide. So the Fed is going to say, "Okay, let's sit down, everyone. What do we do?" Well, how is inflation? Well, the June numbers at 2.7% are not that great. I mean, inflation didn't go up, but it certainly didn't go down to our goal of 2%, which is very, very low, quite frankly. And so I am not going to lower the rates because if it does lower rates, being pressured and the fact that, well, at least it didn't go up, then the Fed is going to realize, they're going to realize that the Fed can be played around and the Fed is not consistent. So unless you see inflation coming down, I don't know, do you see inflation going down around you? No, not really, right? It's not going up, but it's just because Trump is holding this whole thing together right now. So the rates are probably not going to go down. But for the stock market, I mean, it's always assuming rates are going to come down at least by next year because the new guy that's going to come in is definitely going to lower the rates. Probably going to be best set as well. Because they play around with the numbers, right? This is the rates and the inflation, what number you're looking at. I mean, yesterday Trump looked at the rates and he said, you know what, rates are going down. So you can't really rely on that, right? So no rate cut, but the market is going to keep going up because it's already assuming you're going to have a rate cut. Now, of course, if you have a mortgage, good luck because that's gonna the mortgage really and take a look at my website, but basically my YouTube channel, I go live all day long really. I will show you that basically that rate is at 4.5%, so we're not going to see that much for a while. Okay, and then finally I think that what you're going to see later on is no inflation. My concern, my biggest concern is that Trump loses control of this all these balls that he's got in the air. That is what you have to worry about. For whatever reason, Trump loses control of the system, then it's going to be a problem, right? Because the MAGA people are not going to like it. Especially if he gets involved in a war in the Middle East, that's going to be a problem. You don't want that. What could be a problem? Well, suppose he decides to fire the Fed for real. Although he can't do it. I don't think that he could do it at this point. Okay? So we'll see you tomorrow. And meanwhile, refer to my channel, my YouTube channel. I go live during the day and I give you my recommendation as well. And don't forget to join that Patreon channel. It's a great deal.